Okay, so when you hear the name Ronald McDonald, what comes to mind? I mean, for most people, it's probably one of two things, right?
Right. Either the clown, the McDonald's mascot in the yellow jumpsuit, or maybe the Ronald McDonald House charity.
Exactly. But today, our deep dive is actually about a third, much darker connection. It's the story of a man, a specific individual, who kind of co-opted one of the biggest symbols of trust we have.
It's a really shocking story. And for you, the listener, our goal here is pretty clear. We need to dig into the life of this convicted predator, Ronald Caroll McDonald. He was known locally as the Santa of Lake Forest Park.
Yeah, and we really have to untangle his story carefully from the corporate mascot everyone knows.
We have to, because we're using the source materials to understand how this one shared name just exploded a local tragedy onto the international stage.
It really makes you think about the power a name can hold, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And this isn't just, a standard true crime story. It's more than that. It's a look at how institutions can fail, how trust is broken, and how someone can build this incredibly elaborate public identity purely to deceive.
If his name had been, I don't know, John Smith.
Exactly. His horrific crimes probably would stayed local news, maybe a footnote. But the name, that sheer coincidence of the name, Ronald McDonald, that's what made it global. It forced this kind of cultural reckoning.
Okay, let's start with the man himself. Ronald Caroll McDonald, born in 1926. On the surface, his life looks, well, pretty normal, stable even.
Very stable. Served in the U.S. Navy, then had a long career, a very reliable one, as a janitor at the University of Washington Medical Center, the UWMC.
Right, from 1959 all the way until he retired in 82. So
Yeah.
why is that, like that unremarkable stability, why is that so important here?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. That stable background, the Navy service, the decades at a respected place like UWMC, it's the perfect cover.
It makes him seem reliable,
Yeah.
trustworthy.
Totally. He wasn't some drifter. He had institutional weight behind him, a long-term employee, a veteran. These things just naturally make people, parents especially, lower their guard.
And the Santa persona, that started while he was still working at the hospital, didn't it? Back in 67.
Yeah, the sources say it was actually his coworkers who suggested it. Hey, Ron, you look like Santa. Why don't you visit the sick kids?
And his wife, Beryl, she often joined in as Mrs. Claus.
Which just adds another layer, doesn't it? The perfect, wholesome family image.
So after he retired, this Santa thing, it wasn't just a Christmas gig.
No, not at all. It became his, main identity. He was the Santa at the local Lake Forest Parktown Center, and not just in December.
Year-round.
Year-round, volunteering, they say, 6 days a week. He was a fixture. And it wasn't just word of mouth, there was actual media coverage.
I saw that, yeah. A Seattle Times piece from December 92 called him someone with Santa's looks and heart.
Right. So you have official published validation reinforcing this image. It basically made him untouchable in the community's eyes.
What gets me, though, is not just that he was Santa, but how good he apparently was at it. The specific skills he developed.
Ah, yes. That's where it gets really, really chilling from an analytical perspective. He didn't just put on a suit, he actively cultivated trust
How so?
by developing specialized skills. Things designed to reach the most vulnerable kids, the ones whose parents might be extra cautious.
Like what?
The sources are specific. He learned sign language, so he could talk directly to hearing-impaired children.
Wow.
And he also learned to speak Vietnamese, to communicate with young refugees in the area.
Think about that. Just pause for a second, listener. If you're the parent of a child who needs sign language, or a refugee kid maybe struggling to adapt, someone doing that, it doesn't just look kind.
No, it looks like extraordinary dedication, almost saintly, like someone deeply, truly committed to your child's specific needs.
In that perception. That's the key, isn't it?
That was the access point. It neutralized skepticism. Combine that with his other roles, he was a child caretaker sometimes at UWMC, even volunteered in the nursery at his church, Bethany Baptist.
So multiple trusted settings.
Constantly, giving him unparalleled, often completely unsupervised access to children. He basically engineered himself into being the ultimate safe stranger.
Which made the truth, when it finally came out, almost impossible for people to believe. They knew him as, what, kind and caring.
Kind and caring with an excellent sense of humor. That's how the community described him. Just incomprehensible.
Okay, let's try to wrap our heads around the timeline here.
Yeah.
Because this is just staggering. He confessed to abuse that spanned 60 years.
60, yes.
Yeah.
Starting in 1937.
1937. He was born in 1926, so he was 11.
11 years old when this pattern began. And it continued right up until October 1997.
So wait, The Santa persona, that started in '67, you said.
Correct. 30 years after the abuse started.
That changes everything about how you see the Santa role, doesn't it? It wasn't some, I don't know, sudden switch or late life deviation.
Not at all. It was a strategic evolution, a tool he developed and refined over decades to help him continue a lifelong pattern of behavior, a very sophisticated mask.
And the scale. What do the sources say about how many victims there might have been over those 60 years?
Well, he was formally convicted for crimes against 8 victims, but during the investigation, he actually confessed himself to molesting at least 45 children.
45.
At least. And law enforcement estimates, based on his access and the time frame, suggest the real number could possibly be as high as 70.
70. It's not just a pattern. It's a whole secret life built on this foundation of deceit for 60 years.
An entire double life. And it only ended, the sources say, because he was finally outed by a 6-year-old family victim.
Oh, family victim. So even within his own circle.
Which just highlights how deep the betrayal ran. He wasn't just preying on strangers' kids. It was happening inside the very trust networks he built.
And when he was finally caught, what happened? Did he deny it?
Actually, no. That's another really unusual part of this. He immediately, apparently voluntarily, confessed, not just to the initial accusation, but to 7 additional sex crimes stretching back decades.
Wow. After 60 years of hiding it, why confess so readily?
It's hard to say for sure. Maybe psychological collapse, resignation, or perhaps, as you hinted at, a calculated move to maybe control the narrative or avoid a painful trial for the victims. It's complex.
The legal side moved fast after that, though.
Very fast. He pleaded guilty in November 1997. 4 counts of first-degree child rape, 3 counts of first-degree child molestation. Pleading guilty meant the victims didn't have to go through the trauma of testifying at a trial.
Okay, but then comes the sentencing, and this part is... Oh, it's extraordinary.
It really is. Because it wasn't just the prosecution asking for a long sentence. Ronald Caroll McDonald himself asked for the maximum.
He asked for the max.
He did. And get this, so did his family. They stood up in court and asked the judge to give him the absolute maximum possible sentence under the guidelines.
His own family asked for the maximum sentence.
Yes. 26.5 years. They framed it as penance, a necessary consequence for what he'd done.
That's profound. I mean, for a family to do that publicly, it's a total repudiation, isn't it?
Completely. It's like they were drawing the clearest possible line saying, this man's actions do not represent us. We condemn this utterly. It speaks volumes about their horror and shock.
So he got the maximum sentence, and then there was something else, right, about research.
Yes. When he was convicted in January 1998, the judge added a really unique condition. He was sent to the state's Special Treatment Center for Sexual Offenders, but with the stipulation that he be made available to researchers.
Available for research. Into what?
Into the causes of sexual deviancy. They wanted to study him, essentially, to try and understand how something like this could happen, could persist for so long.
And he died while serving that sentence, didn't he?
He did, in 2011. Still incarcerated, still technically available for that research.
Okay, so we've covered the man, the crimes, the conviction, but we have to address the elephant in the room, the reason this story blew up internationally.
Your name.
The name. Ronald McDonald. News outlets everywhere must have asked, wait, is that the Ronald McDonald?
Of course. It's an unavoidable collision of identities. And it means we absolutely have to draw a clear line now, separating the criminal from the corporate mascot.
Because that coincidence, that shared name, is what fueled the whole global narrative.
And it still causes confusion today. You see disambiguation pages online for a reason. People hear the name, they hear the horror story, and the brain just connects them, even though they're totally separate.
So let's clarify the mascot's history. He actually predates the public knowledge of the criminal's actions by decades, right?
Oh, absolutely. The mascot, the clown, has his own distinct origin story. And interestingly, it wasn't some top-down corporate mandate from Ray Kroc initially.
No. Where did he come from then?
He was actually created back in 1963 by a franchisee in Washington, D.C., a guy named Oscar Goldstein.
A local franchisee came up with Ronald McDonald.
He did. He hired a local TV personality, Willard Scott. Yeah, the same Willard Scott who later did the weather on the Today Show. He was also playing Bozo the Clown locally at the time to create this new character for his restaurants. Sometimes the best ideas start local, you know?
Huh. And the first version wasn't quite the clown we know today.
Not even close. The original version Scott portrayed was, well, pretty out there. He had like a paper cup for a nose and a food tray strapped to his head like a hat.
Okay, that's different.
Very experimental. It clearly had potential, but it needed work. The McDonald's Corporation saw that, bought the concept in 1965, and decided to standardize the look.
Which led to the image we all recognize.
Exactly. In 1966, they brought in a professional clown, Michael Polikoff's his stage name was Coco the Clown, and he designed the whole iconic outfit.
The yellow jumpsuit, the red and white stripes.
The big red shoes, the signature makeup, that's the look that launched him into his prime, really.
Yeah.
The 70s, 80s with all the McDonaldland characters like Grimace and the Hamburglar.
Right, McDonald. He was huge then. I remember reading in the sources, there's this incredible irony.
Oh, the irony is thick, isn't it? At the peak of his popularity, Ronald McDonald, the corporate clown, was the second most recognizable fictional character among American kids.
Second only to who?
Santa Claus.
Wow. So the two symbols, the corporate one and the traditional one, were top of mind for kids. And then this horrific story breaks, linking the name Ronald McDonald to someone who abused kids while dressed as Santa Claus.
It's just a deeply uncomfortable convergence of symbols and names, one representing global capitalism, the other ancient benevolence, and the name becoming this point of tragic intersection.
But the mascot's visibility, it's dropped off a lot recently, hasn't it? Why did McDonald's pull back on using him?
Yeah, his prominence definitely faded, mainly due to sort of a pincer movement starting around the 2010s.
What were the pressures?
Two main things. First, you had growing, sustained criticism from health advocacy groups. Groups like Corporate Accountability International really hammered McDonald's for using a kid-friendly clown to market, fast food they saw as unhealthy.
Okay, the health angle. What was the second thing?
That weird, creepy clown phenomenon back in 2016, remember that? People dressing up as scary clowns, sightings all over the place.
Oh yeah, that was bizarre.
Totally bizarre. But it gave McDonald's a convenient, sort of PR-friendly reason to quietly sideline Ronald. The timing was perfect for them to say, okay, maybe let's give the clown a rest for a bit.
So now he's mostly just connected to the charity.
Pretty much. He's mainly seen now as an ambassador for Ronald McDonald House Charities, which, again, is a crucial point. RMHC is a vital, positive organization founded way back in '74, doing great work and completely separate from the criminal.
Though there are whispers, apparently, about McDonaldland maybe making a comeback in 2025.
So they say. We'll see if that actually happens and how they'd handle Ronald if it does. So when we step back and try to connect these threads, the story of Ronald Caroll McDonald, the criminal, it really becomes this kind of cultural touchstone. It forces us to confront that whole stranger danger idea.
How so?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really a stranger.
Exactly. He wasn't the anonymous threat lurking in the shadows. He weaponized the opposite of strangeness. He used the ultimate symbol of trustworthiness, Santa Claus, to gain access.
It shows the danger often comes from figures inside the circle of trust, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People in positions of authority or perceived kindness.
Precisely. He understood that deep psychological mechanism, convinced the parents, gained their trust through these calculated acts of kindness like learning sign language, and the child's defenses are down too. He exploited the figure kids are actually encouraged to approach.
For 60 years.
For 60 years. So now, that name, Ronald McDonald, it carries this incredibly heavy threefold meaning in the public consciousness. It's like a triptych,
Okay, break that down. What are the three meanings?
Well, first, for anyone aware of this case, it means the convicted predator, the man who committed this shocking, decades-long betrayal.
Okay.
Two, it's still the corporate mascot. Controversial, maybe, less visible now, but representing global capitalism, fast food, childhood memories for some.
Right, mascot, two.
And three, it's the charity. Ronald McDonald House Charities, a genuinely positive force founded in '74, helping sick kids and their families. A beacon of hope, really.
So predator, mascot, charity. Three completely different things, all tangled up in one name.
And you, the listener, constantly have to kind of sort through which one is being referred to. It shows the immense power and the potential danger of symbols and names.
It really comes down to that, doesn't it? The power of symbols. One man twisted the symbol of Santa for his own horrific ends. A corporation created the symbol of the clown for commerce.
And the name, just by sheer tragic coincidence, became the point where this darkness and this commercialism collided, forcing us all to constantly clarify which Ronald McDonald are we talking about.
It's been a really heavy story to unpack. That 60-year timeline, the sheer calculation in his deception, using those specialized skills, and then his own family asking for the maximum sentence. Just wow.
And it leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for you to consider. It stems directly from that judge's decision at sentencing.
The research stipulation.
Exactly. Remember, Ronald Carroll McDonald wasn't just sent to prison for punishment. He was ordered to be made available for scientific study into the roots of sexual deviancy.
Right.
So, given the absolute scale of his crimes, the decades involved, what does that decision really mean? When the justice system decides to turn a life sentence, which is usually about penance and protecting society, into also an opportunity for scientific knowledge.
It's balancing punishment with trying to learn something.
Potentially.
Huh.
Balancing the undeniable need for justice and retribution with the hope, maybe, of understanding these devastating behaviors better, preventing them in the future, perhaps. It's a deep ethical question.
So the tension between justice for the past and maybe utility for the future, something definitely to reflect on after hearing all this.